Hello, YouTube. Welcome to day 196, I believe. So today we're going to be talking about one of my more favorite things about most of my hobbies. Whether that's from D&D or what we're going to be talking about, whether it be D&D, D&D and Warhammer are the two that I think about the most when it comes to this particular topic of homebrew. Oh, and there's also Star Wars Edge of the Empire. Homebrew could mean a lot of things, whether it be an item that makes your DM physically and verbally question what in the fuck are they doing with their lives. Because honestly, that's how a lot of fun D&D things happen. Because I guarantee you, DM doesn't like it, but loves it whenever things get thrown off the rails in the right way. There's a right and a wrong way for that to happen. But today we're going to be talking about homebrew for 40k. So for 40k, you start with the basic of who's going to be the Gene Father, whether that be one of the original legions, which generally yes, or there's a chimera thing. We're going to focus on one of the original legions today. We're going to go through the basics. So there's a little bit more out there than, say, from This is Lionel Johnson, Dark Angels Primarch. There's a lot more out there ever since Big E got entombed on his throne and the second founding happened. So whether you're a part of foundings that were born through Firstborn, like my Graveguard, and yes, he is actually fully painted. The color scheme is dark purple and black. This is their color schemes. But you have to keep in mind, because when I made them, I only got through basic of what exactly do they do? Who do they hunt? And I settled upon traders because it was my first thing, and I heard there was traders and loyalists, and I was like, okay, let's figure out like the gist. And much to everybody's like normality when they come to learn about 40k, they look for the good guys. You say, oh, the good guys are the humans. Newsflash for everybody: humanity, yes, they are a faction. There are no good guys. There are only characters with better morals sometimes, or just the ever-living point. But there are good people, there are bad people, and it's just a mix of grimdark, because there's no good option that is actually grimdark. But for them, I figured when I was making them with a person who introduced me to Warhammer, I learned that they needed to have a homeworld. I didn't know about fleet-based chapters. For them, their homeworld lies somewhere in the middle, nearby, it's currently near the Great Rift, currently. So they had their hands full with quite a lot of things going on near their homeworld. For another thing, you have to decide if they're Codex compliant. Codex compliant means that they follow the rules that Gilliman laid it out in the first place. They didn't like that for Graveguard. They didn't like it. They thought it was honestly quite, weak. Much like the Black Templars. They decided, we're just going to crusade and have an exorbitant amount of members. We're going to keep that true number quiet. The only real person who knows the actual number is the Council of the Grave, headed by the chapter master of the Grave Guard, Donnie. And for those of you that wonder, I threw in the flair that they talk with a Brooklyn-like accent, because got the joke from a Warhammer Russian Badger video, honestly. But then you get to learn a little bit things about, like, okay, so what all can you do with a chapter of, like, homebrew? Well, you can do something like this. This is the Imperial Nightmares. Gene Seed, unofficially on official documents, Night Lord. They hail from Nostromo. They are a part of the very, very small amount of them that remained loyal and put aside the shame of the original Legion and have buried it. So they get confused with other things like Raven Guard sometimes. And their fighting tactics. That's another thing too. You have to decide on fighting tactics. How did they fight? And you can also make homebrew chapters with a friend, like I did for the Graveguard, and I would have to give him a call to see how exactly we set up everything for their fighting prowess. I remember that when we made him, due to the way we made them, the more important people in the chapter would be the apothecaries, as the first apothecary of the Imperial Nightmares, the one that first donned red on top of their blue armor to distinguish themselves from traitors, was an apothecary who helped try to preserve the Raven Guard gene seed during the Isfahan troubles. So that whole sector of Isfahan. They were there, they were trying to help as much as they could before they went to the realm of Ultramar, got stuck there for Imperial Secundus, the great shame of Gilliman, Sanguinius, and Lionel Johnson, as they figured, oh, Dad's actually still alive. So, with that, Imperial Secundus. So, like that, you need to know, do you want them to be fleet-based? Do you need them to be home? Do you need them homeworld? Out of their genetic defects? Are there any genetic defects? Who are their Saturday morning villains, rogues? And for my more recent one, we're going to go into a little bit of that with the Hellhounds. Hello. So, for the Hellhounds, or I haven't really picked a full name for them yet, which is another thing. When you first start making a homebrew chapter, you should start with a name, or a motif in my case. So their motif is Cerberus, the three-headed dog that guards the underworld. And if you're wondering why we're not going into a full in-depth thing, it's because Ricky wants to be able to be here for that, because, well, he loves homebrew just as much as I do when it comes to Warhammer. So, for our, we'll just call them the Hounds of Hell for now. When first starting with a chapter, you need to get an idea of what exactly you want to do. And because they're Primaris founding, I can say that I can make them quite easily, because I get to, rather than look through hundreds of lore books and hours of other videos, I can just say they guard the entry point of Tartarus to the Dark Imperium. For those of you that don't know, in Warhammer, the Great Rift has divided the galaxy in half. We have the main Imperium, which is one side with Terra, and the Dark Imperium, the one side that is on the other half of the Great Rift. As such, these great rifts have divided the galaxy in half and made travel extremely, extremely hard. Thankfully, with the Primaris founding and the now okay to go make their own chapters, crossing the Rubicon, one of the Fenrisian wolves by the name of Ulfric Fenrir has been assigned to the chapter master role. So coming directly from the Space Wolves to make this chapter, crossing the Rubicon for this particular thing, he was noticed that after the procedure, his eyes were almost glowing inside the irises of red. So he was assigned to the point of the Gateway Tartarus. And as such, the Gateway Tartarus, they face many, many a foe at this time, including Black Legion and one orc boss by Boss Bullet, who they had cornered down near the Great Rift before the war boss slipped through the Great Grin for the orcs. For those of you that don't know, the orcs in Warhammer believe that the Great Rift is Gorkamork smiling. And whenever an orc goes through the Great Rift, they appear on wherever the nearest big fight is. So that was pretty interesting. So, the Hounds of Hell have dispatched some headhunters to go find them. That's right, we have a guard of headhunters going to try and find Boss Bullet. Will they be successful? Who knows? Probably heading to Armageddon, to be honest. So, with that, we come to Where are they stationed? Well, they're a fleet-based chapter, and their head ship is named the Barge Damnation, or the Damnation Barge. I'm taking a note out of Greek mythology for this because I always found it interesting. Space Wolves never had a chapter until I recently figured out that they couldn't make a chapter because they were just so low guarded, or they just... Again, I don't really know too much about the lore. Purely because I heard that they couldn't make a chapter or a homebrew out of them, so I was just like, meh, it's aside. And focused on my main one, which would be the Graveguard, Blood Angel successors, by the way. And then I got in more in depth with the Imperial Nightmares, and Lionel Johnson's the only true in-character Legion that I do play. Purely because I find the model quite interesting, and I am catching up on some of the lore, and it's pretty cool. Anyhow, so from Barge Damnation, they scour the Great Rift, guarding their entrance to the Dark Imperium. All the while, whenever they engage, they will take a tithe of the children who are genetically supposed to be Astartes, which is a normal thing. They check to see if you can be an Astartes, whether or not you can, and they take what they can, and they put them through the trials. Trials to be decided, but we can go into how they fight. How they fight is, well, they send a team to engage them in melee, slow them down, and have the fangs of the full chapter come closing in around them to grind them into a dust, leaving nothing behind. There are some other things I'm, as of right now, not very sure of, but I can tell you their paint scheme. Paint scheme is going to follow red, orange, and black for highlights. I have none currently painted. I was about ready to get started on that. Anyhow, here's your fun fact for the day. Did you know in TF2 that if you delete a JPEG file of a coconut, it crashes your entire game? There's your fun fact for the day. Hope you all enjoyed. Bye!